This is a Stock Trading Reality Podcast, episode 134.
So I would like to be a little bit more patient, stick to my plan a little bit tighter, and that's really what I want to kind of build on. Because usually my entry points, even though I do chase, it'll come back into that zone I was able to get what I wanted,
This is the Stock Trading Reality Podcast, where you get to see the realistic side of a trader's journey. Get inspired and stay motivated by everyday normal people who are currently on their journey to trading success. Community members from Colorado have hurt his feelings. Clay Trader.
Yeah, talk about a bunch of scumbags. Those members in Colorado, they've had, I think, 2 or 3 meetups. And guess how many I've been invited to? I'm holding up. I know you can't see me, but I'm holding up 0. Hey, you don't talk until I get done making stuff up and throwing everybody under the bus. And then you can come and refute my baseless claims. But I've been invited to 0 of them. And I think they've had like 7 or 8 people show up, and they share pictures, and they're talking about everything, and it looks like a great time. And here I am twiddling my thumbs. I don't even get an invite. So to the Colorado members out there, all I'm going to say is that, yes, you have indeed hurt my feelings. And Ches, our esteemed co-host, is one of those members. So, Ches, you've hurt my feelings, man.
We're planning our revolt. We're just preparing regionally on how we're going to overtake the website and the rest of the community. But yeah, you have not traveled west of the Mississippi, so we're working on that. We're going to get you out here at some point in the next year. And then I already told you, I think last week, that first off, I gave you permission to kind of sleep on my property, and then I told you that there will be a place under a roof, that'll at least protect you from the elements.
At first, it was the outhouse of your property. I remember last week. Yep. So
yeah, we've had two meetups so far, and we'll probably have another one before kind of winter sets in. But yeah, we got a lot of awesome members out here. We went out to eat one time, and then we went to a kind of an outdoor campground and did some grilling. And it was an awesome time. And you are more than welcome to come out any time. We'll see next year. I know you got a busy rest of the year ahead of you.
So is this my official invite here publicly? You're inviting me to the next. Oh
yeah, I guess you could show up if you want. Just bring a dessert or something. So
All right, easy enough. So, but in all seriousness though, it is really neat to see that members from around the country have met up, and I know Ches, you've met up with members. Just I know RD down in Arkansas. Or was he in California when you met up with him?
Yep, yeah, he flew to California and we met up and had some time there. But yeah, no, it's pretty cool, and I think you use it as a fun fact one time that most of these members, and I would say 99.9% of our community is relatively normal, and no one's all going to shank us or shiv us. All those worries we had in the beginning about one of the first meetups is we were terrified of how it was going to go. But yeah, most of our members are completely normal, awesome people, and it's cool that we're kind of comfortable enough to kind of share information and hang out and grab some food or drinks or something.
Yeah, I mean, the only member that I can think of that's kind of a little weirdo is Nate Wilson, but besides that, everybody is and that's kind of
relatively normal.
It's relatively normal. So but yeah, it's cool. And in the Colorado's members' defense, we've done 5 meet and greets where we'll go in just different cities, and whoever wants to come hang out, we've done that. But the farthest south we've gone is Nashville, and the farthest west we've gone is Chicago. But this winter we have one in Florida. And then after Florida, west of the Mississippi is coming. So it's just a matter of time at this point. But I look forward to eventually meeting all those people in Colorado. It looks like a great group. And regardless, it's cool to see that members are doing kind of their own thing regionally and having a good time. So with that being said, we're on our way out to Rhode Island to talk with HeyFordy. That is his chat room alias. Mike, we kind of call him back and forth throughout the interview, but it's not really an interview, more of a discussion because he was on episode 99, and we're just getting an update on things and have some really, really good discussions, including how fundamentals can kind of corrupt and act as a virus when it comes to trading, and that'll make more sense as we get into things. But it was a great discussion. We went down some fun rabbit holes that should be very beneficial, so let's get started and hear from Mike. Mike, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Well, good to be back.
Now, if I remember right, you are in Rhode Island?
Correct.
All right. And you are a boxer. That's how I always remember HeyFordy. He is the boxer from Rhode Island. And you've probably given one of my favorite analogies. I can't remember the exact context, but it had something to do with trading is like boxing. Sometimes, in boxing, you just got to take that first punch and you got to just get it out of the way and realize, okay, I can deal with it. I can, I can recover. I got experience under my belt, and I've always kind of remember that. That is truly, what trading is about. You got to just take the punch and then, roll with it. So we were just discussing before we got going that you were on last roughly about 10 months ago. So you're kind of in the recent history of the podcast, but not really. I guess 10 months ago is almost a year. So why don't you walk us through kind of a quick recap? Oh, and by the way, you were on episode, I can't remember if I mentioned this or not, 99, but walk us through a quick kind of recap of, where you were back during, 10 months ago, where that journey kind of was, and then we'll kind of pick back up and see where things have gone since.
Yeah, absolutely. So back when we first did the podcast, I was only trading for about a year and a half, I would say, and I wouldn't even really call it trading. It was just on Robinhood and U-Stock trade I was using. And I was just kind of messing around with it and getting a hang of it. And then I joined CTU, and that's really where I started, developing some trading skills.
Okay, so when you joined CTU, did you put a pause on your trading, or were you still trading while you were going through all the material?
I wouldn't say I did a complete pause. I did slow down a little bit because I was just trying to go through all the videos and really absorb it. But I did slow down for a few months, and I actually ended up closing my, not closing it, but withdrawing most of my funds out of Robinhood, closing my U-Stock account, and put it all into a real broker, E-Trade, and started just using what I learned through CTU.
Now, the real question, anybody who listened to, Mike's previous episode would know that Clay said that, he would let you punch him in the face. So did that ever happen yet? Have you guys met in person, and have you punched Clay? Because everyone out there is waiting for that answer.
Nope, not yet.
Not yet. All right. So maybe in the meetup in January or February, we can get that on video. I think that makes for a good vlog, Clay. Did you forget about that? Because I sure didn't.
Yeah, I actually did. So thank you for the reminder. And I guess I'll have to go back to the gym or something and start Happy Gilmore, step into the batting cage and just let balls take me in the face. So.
Exactly. But okay. So anyways, back on topic here. So you go through CTU, you kind of move your funds out of Robinhood and U-Stock, and you open an E-Trade account. So I guess the big question is how has that been going? How is your risk management going? How's your trades been going? Have you been trading, for an intraday time frame, swing trading? What's your trading look like these days?
So it's definitely been improving. Last year, I only finished the year with 7%, increase in my return in my account. And,
all right, just stop there, jerk face. Okay,
Here we go.
Only up 7%. Do you know how many people would sell their mother to the devil to even break even? I mean, there's numerous traders out there, veteran to new traders that didn't even make money during a year. So for you to say I only made 7%, I mean that's a testament in and of itself. Wouldn't you agree, Ches? Is Mike being a little hard on himself to say only 7%?
He's definitely being hard on himself, and the analogy we always do is walk into the bank and tell them you want a 7% return on your money, and they're going to even laugh at you. That's just, yes, so he's definitely being hard on himself, but he expects greatness. I understand it. That's just that's how the mind works. But yes, finishing up for the year, I mean, you're already a leg above probably, 85% of traders out there for the most part.
Yeah, so well done. And I'm feeding fuel to the fire. So when you do punch me in my face, now when you cock your fist back and say, this guy called me a jerk face. So you're going to get that much more power behind the punch. So, but yeah, come on, give yourself a little bit more credit. There is no only. You finished up 7%, which, you pay taxes on trading. That's always a good problem to have if you're paying taxes. So sorry to cut you off, but I mean, come on. I'm not going to let you be that hard on yourself. So 7%, so take it from there.
No, I understand that 7% is really pretty good. But at the same time, where I was at with my training in the beginning of the year, I got really lucky, and I did increase my account a lot. And I ended up giving most of it back just because I didn't know what I was doing. So that's why I'm kind of like, I knew where I was at, and then I just gave most of it back. That's why I'm a little disappointed with it.
Okay, that's fair enough. But also to your credit, and I totally get where you're coming from, at least there were some key words that you threw at me. You knew you got lucky. So self-awareness, absolutely, must-have attribute for traders. You were self-aware. It's not like you thought you had it all figured out. And you gave most of it back, but at least you didn't give it all back and closed down the year 7%. So, I mean, it could have been worse. So I get the frustration for sure, but you still did do a few good things. Now, how were you getting lucky? I mean, were this coming from options gains, stock gains? But walk us through getting lucky, because I think a lot of listeners, myself included when I was new, people may be getting luck mixed with skill. So walk us through some of these, lucky trades.
Well, most of them, actually all of them, were just puppet trading, and they were all penny stocks. So I just would pretty much get lucky with a decent entry, and then the stock would run, a crazy amount, and then I would just, bank on it.
Well, like Clay was saying, the key thing about all this is your recognition. You didn't just, hit a couple winners and say, I'm the greatest, and then, after you gave those gains back, you said, something needs to be looked at, something needs to be adjusted. This is not the way to kind of long-term success. So I would venture to say that after you kind of went through CTU, you've given up the puppet trading dreams of grandeur. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't even go on stock twits anymore. I completely avoid it at all costs, just so I'm not tempted on trying to follow other people.
Definitely. So welcome to the club. I avoid most news sources and kind of message boards like the plague. It's pretty cool once you kind of are confident in yourself that I would venture to say you have no problem if I was to give you a ticker, you would look at it and you'd say, sure, I could spot a trade here, or nope, I'm going to pass on it. So that kind of freedom and kind of independence is just something that, in my opinion, really kind of makes, long-term success that much more feasible, because you are in control. You are taking full responsibility for pulling the trigger, finding, whether you hear about a ticker or not doesn't matter. The whole thing is that you're responsible for putting the trade on, setting your stop loss, setting your target, and so on and so forth. So what have you been kind of, trading lately? Are you still trading penny stocks on your new brokerage account? Or are you focusing on some options, big boards? What are you doing now?
No, to be honest, I really don't ever touch anything below 5 or 10 for the most part. What I was doing when I was with Robinhood and everything, I was trying to do more swing trading, because with Robinhood, the interface, you have to hit so many buttons and go in between all these little buttons to make you hit. So when I went over to the E-Trade account, I started trying to focus a little bit more on day trade, just getting in and out, and I've been actually doing really good, really consistent. The thing I like about E-Trade is that it kind of shows you every month what your gains are, and it keeps a good track record for you. So, I really like that. But again, I got flagged in PDT, so now I'm back to swing trading. Out of the last 3 years of trading, or 2.5 years, I've spent 6 months being flagged under this PDT. So, it's a little tough with that, so I'm back into swing trading.
Okay. Let's talk E-Trade for a little bit. Any reason why E-Trade? And just asking because of the fees and all that. I mean, what's your thoughts on E-Trade?
Why E-Trade?
Yeah.
So I was gonna go with Thinkorswim, because that's what TD Ameritrade, because that's what I was using for the platform. But they were charging, I think, $7.95, I believe, and then E-Trade offered $4.95. So I ended up just going with them.
Okay,
gotcha.
And do you have something, Ches?
Yeah, I was going to ask, so is there any reason, though? So I know you've been flagged for PDT multiple times, and obviously that sucks, and we hate, we have multiple, I think, Clay, you have a blog post or two about how our thoughts on PDT and how silly it is, but regardless of that, is there any reason why you never looked at kind of day trading options on a cash account? Because there's no PDT on that, so I was just wondering if you had ever looked at that, or kind of went through the course and was like, this isn't really for me, or any reason why you didn't do that? Because that's an easy way to avoid PDT.
Actually, to be honest, that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I'm taking the option courses as we speak. I've been going through most of them, but like I just never really jumped into the options. I just want to learn stocks at first, and I've watched each video like 3 or 5 times, and I just recently got into options because of that.
That makes sense. But let me also ask you this, because, and I'm not saying that Ches or myself, we're not trying to, shove you down, the options hole if you don't feel comfortable with it. But with your day trading, when you're doing it with E-Trade, were you successful? Was your account growing month by month?
Absolutely. I'm actually looking at it right now. So the E-Trade I opened up in the end of April, so I didn't trade in April, but May I gained 14.11%. June I gained 13.56%. Then July, when I got flagged, I had a bit of a rough time, and I actually went negative 19.58%. And now for August, I'm 14.38% up. So altogether since May for this year, I'm up 19.21%.
Okay, I'm so now obviously that losing month sucks, but for example's sake and for credibility's sake, thank you for saying you were down 19%, because now Ches and I don't have to worry about whatever that was staged. He didn't have 4 straight months of blah blah. No, 19% loss in a month. So no, Mike is not sitting here proclaiming to be a flawless trader winning all the time. So,
losses happen.
Yeah, losses happen. So swing trading, how is that going for you? Since your account is locked up, is your account still growing as you're doing swing trading?
It is, because this month August, it went up 14%.
Okay. So are you just doing what you're doing day trading strategy wise and now extrapolating that out to a swing trading, or are you doing like 2 different, like playing different chart setups and so on and so forth, or are they pretty much mimicking each other just on wider time frames?
I'm just focusing on like just a longer time frame. It's just I've been really hesitant because I don't like jumping into a trade that I can't get out of immediately, and obviously that's what being flagged has done to me. So even if I see a stock that has hit my desired entry, I get really worried with it and kind of hesitant.
So you are extra cautious then while you're day trading?
Yeah.
Excuse me, swing trading. While you're swing trading, you're extra cautious.
Yeah, I'm trying to buy or get my entries more towards the end of the day. But when I was day trading, it was mostly shorts. Ever since I took the shorting course, my trading has just been awesome. Shorting kind of opened up a whole new thing for me.
Well, I mean, yeah, with shorting, this is what we always tell people. You literally, for new people out there, shorting just means you can make money when prices fall. So if you weren't aware of that, you're looking at it saying, it's a stereotypical buy low, sell high, meaning it's got to go high. So you have one way of making money. When you introduce in shorting, meaning you can make money when the price goes down, like I said, you literally now have 2. 1 to 2, you literally just doubled your flexibility by having shorting introduced into a strategy and understanding how shorting works. So that always makes total sense. And that was the same way for me is, wow, I feel like I have so much more flexibility because I don't have to sit here and be like, well, the only way I can make money is this thing has got to go up some way. No, now it can go down and you can still make money. So that makes, perfect sense. And I guess what I'm kind of the roundabout question that I'm asking is, I'm not saying to not do it, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And right now, it sounds like you have a very valid strategy in place for day trading. Yeah, there's some kinks working out with the swing trading because you're being a little bit more hesitant. But the problem for you, and this is a great problem to have, is it's not a problem of system. It's not a problem of strategy. It's not a problem of chart vision. It's just a capital problem. And the awesome thing with the capital problem is there's a guaranteed way to grow that capital. And that's go out there and take guaranteed trades, aka a job. So what is your income situation? I realize this is none of my business, so you talk freely, tell me to cram it. I won't be offended. But what is your income situation per month? Are you taking money out of paychecks and putting it into your trading account, or what does that look like?
No, so I kind of made a promise to myself. I have my account right now is funded purely on what I got out of the other 2 Robinhood and Ustock accounts. I told myself I was not going to put any of my own capital of my paychecks in for a little bit. I really want to see how I do this year and how consistent I can be before I really throw, thousands more in to get past that 25K mark. I just kind of want to prove to myself that if I do it, I'm not going to lose it all.
That's fair enough. And I 100% respect that. My counter argument to that would be, let's say you get your account, and these are just random numbers. Let's say $30,000. You can still treat your account like a $5,000 account, and you can still be like, okay, on this trade, I'm only going to lose, let's just say $100. But the difference here now is that you can trade as much as you want with that quote unquote $5,000 account, even though it's really a $30,000 account. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I understand that. It's just, for me,
there's a psychological roadblock in there.
Yeah, it's just, I know there's just more to risk, so it gets me a little hesitant.
What do you mean more to risk? What do you mean more to risk?
I know you said you can still treat it as a $5,000 account, but at the same time, I'm afraid of be able to over trade maybe, or it's just it's something in my head. I'm not sure really.
Okay, so and maybe this is what you're getting at, and again, going back to self-realization, but are you maybe afraid that you tell yourself it's going to be a $5,000 account, but all of a sudden you get stubborn out of nowhere, and now all of a sudden you're sitting in like a $20,000 position? Is that what you're scared of potentially happening? You just all of a sudden going off the deep end for no reason?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's totally fair, and I respect that. So that does make sense, and it's good that you're aware of that, rather than actually putting yourself in the spot and then becoming aware of it when it's too late. So, Ches, are you in agreement? Do you have anything to chime in here? Because this is that's why I like these bringing back, because it's just, we can just share our thoughts. And so any thoughts from you, Ches?
No, I think you pretty much nailed it. But if there's a disconnect in how he personally feels about, that account balance and kind of the risks associated with it, if he can recognize that he's not able to kind of treat it as a $5,000 account and might kind of either overtrade or take on too large of a position, then I completely understand. But I promise you this. If you can find a way to overcome that, because obviously this is all personal. Trading is all super personal, because like I said earlier, in the end, it's all you making the decision. So first off, you got to know yourself. But second off, if he knows that he might be doing something that's very risky to kind of his account, I guess a good way to safeguard is to keep his account that size. But I'm totally with you, Clay. I would be under the approach of try to grow it to avoid PDT. He knows how to day trade, but obviously there's, like I said, it's all a personal thing, and he's going to have to figure out what works best for him.
Yeah, and it's just, and I'm aware that you're aware of this, but it's going to be a massive hurdle, because you said you like to get in and out and all that sort of stuff, but when you have the stupid PDT hanging over your head, it's just going to be hard to prove to yourself that you can do it when you have to, because it's not a real life environment. A real life environment for what you want to do is going to be trading as much as you want, but that's not the environment that you have right now. So, pros and cons, and but I do 100% understand where you're coming from. So when is because it's a 90-day freeze, right?
Correct.
So you're what, you get off in October-ish?
I think the beginning of October. The one thing with the PDD that keeps getting me, I follow the system that you talk about in CTU a lot, which is take a portion of your profits regularly. And I always forget that when you buy on the same day, even if you sell it twice and you only buy once, that's still considered 2 day trades, and that's what keeps screwing me.
Yeah, I'm breathing right now because I don't want to go off. If there's any government officials listening to this, yeah, can you please just reconsider the whole pattern day trader thing? Because go ahead.
I can hear the helicopters swirling over your house right now, Clay. Careful.
Yeah. I see. Who are these men knocking at my door right now? No, but
rappelling down your window.
Yeah. Who are these people rappelling from the trees? So, all right. Well, it is what it is. But to me, my argument stands the same. It's not. So what is your time frame? You like a full year? Because you keep saying you want to prove to yourself, And yet I'm sitting here, listening to you've had 4 months of good, even with a losing month, and you're still ahead. So, I mean, what is your time frame like where you would define it as I have proved to myself I can do it?
Well, the market's been really shaky these last couple of weeks, and I know it's going to go on for a little bit more like this until, a little more into the fall. So in my head, I kind of had a plan on the end of the year in December to, fund the account a little bit more if my track record is still positive and if I think that it's a safe bet.
Okay, so still positive by, do you have any sort of numbers? Or you're just kind of going to just kind of go with gut instincts on, how you've been trading and what that number looks like?
So I wouldn't say I have an exact number in my head, but I noticed that like on my May, June, and August gains have all been like 13 to 14%. So if I can just keep that consecutive and keep it going around that, I don't need to have huge returns, but I would like it just to be consistent and, just know that I have something to expect. If I have 1 month that's like 100, then the next month's 3%, and it's like jumping all over the place, I would just think I was a yo-yo and it wasn't consistent, and my risk that I was placing my trades was just all over the place.
Okay, that makes sense. So I like that. You don't want to be a yo-yo. You're not opposed to losing, but you also, don't want wide fluctuations. So I'll buy that theory all day long. That makes a whole lot of sense, and I would say is a very wise approach on your part. So what are some things that you think and you're aware of that you still need to work on in your trading? Because clearly you're not 100% confident, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. You're clearly getting better, but you, again, going back to being self-aware, you realize that there's some things that are still a little bit of shaky or, present shakiness. So what are some, I don't know if weaknesses is the right word, but just things you're aware of that you want to, continue to focus on and work on to get better at?
So I would say my entries are pretty decent. I would like to get better. I do find myself chasing once in a while when I'm not able to, get the price I wanted right off the rip. So that's definitely one thing that I would just like to hone in on more. Well, I was going to say something else. What was I going to say? I forgot.
Well, that's okay. Honestly, and I kind of completely agree with Clay per usual that it is totally normal for you to want to prove to yourself that you're not going to make any boneheaded mistakes. So obviously you already know that occasionally, and as long as occasionally is a very, very low occurrence and something that doesn't happen often and ideally will never kind of happen in the future, yet you occasionally chase, you recognize, and like I said, I was talking about this earlier, recognition and recognizing, what actually costs you money, what ends up making you lose more than you had planned to lose. If you notice these things and learn from them, that's the real way to kind of move forward. So I totally understand that. It took me a long time to kind of really start to believe in my abilities and not just think, I had a couple good months, because I was getting lucky. And once you start kind of having that belief in yourself and knowing that, I am truly consistent, and granted, consistency doesn't mean that you make money month over month over month. There are times when the market is just not conducive for your strategy and you'll have a red month. That's okay. If you have one red month out of 12, 11 out of 12 is still a good record as long as it's not a completely blowout month. So, I don't know. Clay, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, you're clearly aware and you recognize what needs to be worked on, although I wish you'd remember that other thing. Cause it's always...
I remembered it now.
Perfect. right on cue.
Yeah, so the other thing I was going to say is I noticed that sometimes, even though I'm looking at a chart and I see the signs it's giving me, I sometimes ignore it because I have a certain idea. For instance, I made a good amount of money off shorting Snap and CARA, CALA. But for instance, for Snap, I made a good return on it. And I kept trying to reshort because I knew the company just wasn't a turn of profit. I don't think it should be valued to where it is right now. Especially it's valued. I think it's valued higher than AMD. I think, and it blows my mind. And I think it should keep going down. But even though I see the chart, there's like a reversal. I'm like, oh no, it's gonna be temporary. Just keep the short, and then I lose a decent amount, and then I give all my gains back, and I keep doing it almost out of revenge because I know the ticker itself, or the company itself, sorry, is not worth that, even though the chart is telling me something else is going on.
That's super fascinating. It totally makes sense. So you have a stubbornness in your belief about the fundamentals of a company in a nutshell.
Exactly. And I'm looking at like technicals, but I have this fundamental in the back of my head. I'm like, no, this shouldn't be here. And, I end up taking these hits because my stop losses are always in place. So, it'll get hit again and again.
Yeah, that's and that's just, I don't know what the solution to that is. I mean, you're aware of it. It's just, you got to just trust the chart. And I realize me sitting here saying trust the chart is just a phrase and much easier said than done.
So much easier said than done.
Yeah, and I don't know, why do you hate Snap so much though? That's the question. It's like, I mean, or why do you grasp onto your opinions of these companies in such a hardcore fashion way?
Because I'm stubborn.
Because you're stubborn and we like to be right. It's just the human condition. And it's just completely counterintuitive to trading, and it sucks, but that's the human condition, and that's why trading is very, very difficult to get good at.
All right, let me ask you this. How do you even know what AMD is worth, and how do you even know what Snap is worth?
Well, in my head, like I look at their earnings reports, I look at their products.
Okay, all right, here we go. Here's first way we can eliminate this problem. Stop looking at freaking earnings reports. It's either you're a chart trader or you're pretty much not, because these earnings reports have very clearly, to your own admission, clouded your chart vision, because you read some earnings report and it's in the back of your head now about why this or that or the other, even though the chart's telling you something else, and it's causing you to give back gains. So from the outside looking in, no, if you want to be a fundamental trader, fine, go be a fundamental trader to the utmost potential. But you have proven to yourself, and this is a great example of how some people can balance, others can't. You think back to Dim, who's been on the show a couple times. He can balance technicals and fundamentals very nicely. But you, and I say this out of tough love, I say this out of just because I want you to succeed, it sounds like you are really struggling to incorporate fundamentals and technical analysis into your trading as one. So it sounds like you got to pick one or the other and just go full bore at it. And if you're going to stick with charts, then you can't be looking at earnings reports because, man, it's wreaking havoc on you.
No, I agree. I absolutely agree.
So, I mean, Ches, that's the thing that stuck out to me. Did anything else, stick out in terms of how we can, help Fordy here, Mike, with this annoyance issue?
No, I completely agree. And while I agree that, in my opinion, personally, it's one or the other, we do have people who kind of blend the two together. But I can tell you right now, from kind of looking at those earning reports and seeing hits or misses or anything like that, it just seems to be kind of clouding what you already know from the technical analysis side. So I totally agree with Clay, and Fordy, I want you to remember this, or as you're cocking your fist back to hit Clay, just remember when he used you as a punching bag in an effort to help you.
I'm going to lose all my teeth. So, but that's a great thing. And from my personal experience, and because I don't know if I could necessarily say I tried it, but one of the games I love to do with myself is, every morning, especially during earnings, CNBC app will say, movers and, I can't remember what they say, but then, such and such company reported this, that, or the other. And then you're able to tap on the ticker symbol, which will bring you to the quote page and show you what the stock's doing pre-market or post-market based off of the earnings or the news. And I swear, maybe if I did the opposite, I'd have like a $1 billion strategy, but I'm like, oh, wow, they reported this and that grew and then that grew. And then, they improved this. And then I'm like, all right, so there's going to be a gap up. And I love to play the game with myself. I click on the ticker symbol, boom, gap down. It's like, okay, so you got to just pick one or the other and that's just me. Maybe some people are like, oh, well, because that and that and that should mean that they're going to grow and the market's going to think that. And who knows, maybe you're awesome at it. But me personally, yeah, I got to just stick with the charts because I'm a terrible guesser when it comes to, trying to forecast what an earnings report means or anything like that. And also you got to keep in mind, Fordy, those earnings reports, those valuations, let's just say you're day trading. What time frame do you use when you day trade?
1 minute, 5 minute, and 15.
Okay, 1 minute, 5 minute, and 15. So let's say you are actually 100% correct that Snapchat is overvalued compared to AMD, so it's going to go down. Well, yeah, maybe you're right from a fundamental approach. The thing with fundamentals is, yeah, it might go down, but like
daily, weekly,
let's just say that you're right. But when you're right, it actually takes a week, just a week, 5 days for you to be right. But when you're looking at a 1 minute chart, a 5 minute chart, a 15-minute chart, 1 week might as well be like the next 6 months. You know what I mean? So your overall premise, even if you're right within the week, from a day trading perspective, it just doesn't jive at all. Does that make sense?
No, it absolutely does. And I kind of like, deep down, I do know this. I know that I got to kind of pick with what I'm going with. It's just the back of my head. It's the stubbornness again.
Yeah, and it's because you looked at those earnings reports. But ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is going to be extra bliss for you, because if you don't even have anything to put in the back of your head, then you're literally the only thing you can depend on is the chart itself. So that would be my advice: is no more earnings reports, no more reading headlines about this, that, or the other company. Just look at the chart, read the chart like you know how, and do that. And I think that would help alleviate that current issue. But now you mentioned entry points, because I don't want to sit here and kick you the whole time, as something that you feel confident in. What else do you really feel like is something that is a strength and that you can build on?
Well, I have noticed that my I guess my calls kind of like, I'll look at a chart, I'll break it down to see what I think's gonna happen, and I usually set alerts. So I'll get alert on different charts of when it's hitting these certain zones. And, I'll look at it, and then I'll try to get in, but maybe it's fluctuating up or down, and I'll miss. And instead of waiting to just hopefully that'll come back and I will get my desired entry point, I'll chase, and then it'll end up going back, and I'm just being impatient. And, so I would like to be a little bit more patient, stick to my plan a little bit tighter. And that's really what I want to kind of build on. Because usually my entry points, even though I do chase, it'll come back into that zone I was able to get what I wanted,
Yeah, definitely. So, and that impatience is something that takes time to kind of work through and work out. But as you'll start to kind of notice, and just kind of, if you have obviously records of your trades, and your month to month performance, you'll start to see that the more you chase, the more either you're going to make less on the trade or you're going to stop out more frequently. So patience is a very, very difficult thing, because you see something and you go, oh crap, I missed, and then you want to get in, but it's not ideal and your risk is too big, and you'll just start to notice that it's going to start costing you money. So patience is definitely an acquired taste. I used to be the worst offender of chasing things well past the breakout point, or not getting the price I want because I'm trying to market fill and stuff like that. So like I said, it's just kind of something to work through. The emphasis of this whole thing for me is that you recognize that, and it's something you can work on. But in terms of your kind of risk management, it seems like I would venture to say that you appear to be really kind of disciplined in your risk. Do you ever catch yourself kind of moving your stop loss down to kind of take on more risk because, say, a larger time frame looks better or anything like that? Do you ever move your stop that's going to cost you more money, or do you only kind of move it in a direction that reduces your risk?
Both. I gotta admit, sometimes I do. Like say something's moving pretty fluctuating, like up and down quick. I will sometimes remove my stop loss if I'm right in front of the screen, just so I don't get tagged and then it goes back down. But I do always move my stop loss into the green if it's going my way. I've made the choice that I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do it right. So I try not to, obviously, but occasionally I do catch
stop
myself.
Reading those earnings reports. That's why you're doing
it.
Freaking earnings reports are like a little virus. They're corrupting everything, including your stop losses.
Well, you know what it is? The earning reports are kind of like listening to other people sometimes. They make me believe other things.
I love that. Very well said. That's exactly what it is, yeah.
Yeah, and I trick myself into it sometimes. But for the most part, I do leave my stop losses alone. Unless the ticker, like I said, has just a lot of volatility. Sometimes I'll play with it, but yeah.
Now, has that ever bit you when you're playing with your... Yeah.
Yes, it has. Sometimes, especially, I remember, what was I short in? I forget the ticker, but I was short and I got squeezed and I took it off the stop loss and it friggin' just shot up real quick. And I took a decent size hit. I think that was the one in July, actually.
Okay, and it was July. July was your 19% down month?
Yes.
Okay, so see, that to listeners out there, a tale of caution. That's what happens when you're not disciplined. But when you are disciplined, now we were really just punching you, pun intended, since you are a boxer. But let's cut you a little slack. You are doing a lot of things right, clearly, because your account is growing. So, but I'm glad you're still honest and you're not trying to sit here and pretend like, yeah, my account's growing, so this, that, and the other. I mean, you're being very hard on yourself, but that's good. There's still things to work on. And I mean, anybody that's being honest is not going to sit there and be like, I am an absolute robot at all times. I've never even thought about changing my stop loss. I mean, it happens. And, the question really becomes, is that time when you do it going to kick you in the teeth or not? And sometimes you have to get kicked in the teeth, even when you're experienced. You got to get a wake-up reminder. A couple years ago in June, I wrote an article where I wanted to break a streak and I got all fancy, and I have a blog article we'll put in the show notes. And then I ended up losing like $3,500 on one trade because I don't know why. I just was like, hey, I want to break this streak. I got it figured out. I'll get a little fancy here. I'll do this, that, and the other. And then all of a sudden I'm looking at a like $3,500 loss. So, I mean, it's always a constant struggle, and being aware of it and knowing you got to work on it and be focused on it, is definitely the key thing. And that's why I like doing that blog article. It's kind of like a public shaming of myself. So now if I need to, I'll always go back and reread that and be like, oh man, yeah, don't try to get fancy. Just stick with the script. So now you work full-time job, right?
Yeah, I'm actually I was the general manager of a seafood restaurant. I just left this past weekend. I'm going to another restaurant to open a second location for them.
Oh, nice. Are you allowed to say what seafood restaurant?
Yeah, Jamestown Fish in Jamestown, Rhode Island.
Okay, is that like how many locations do they have?
Well, this one's just one, but the one I'm going to is called Basta. It's an Italian restaurant, but this will be their second location.
Oh, and they're trusting you with and being the manager of it?
Yeah, yep. I was the general manager at the other restaurant, so they gave me the offer to do it. So I'm going to work with them for about 12 weeks at their first location to kind of figure out how they work, and then move on to another one.
That's really awesome. That's a testimony to your work ethic and you as a quality individual for somebody who's going to trust you to open up. I mean, to go from 1 to 2, that's like going long to shorting. I mean, that's now all of a sudden they have double the restaurants out there, and they're putting that second one in your hand. So yeah, that's really good job. That's awesome.
Absolutely.
So so my question here is and I don't know this for sure, but my impression is that the restaurant business, a lot of hours. So wow, this is going to make the question that much more better here. But you got to put in a lot of hours with restaurants. So how are you actually? Because a lot of listeners do have day jobs, and they're not straight up full-time traders. So walk us through kind of your strategy, your routine. I guess at this point, what is your planned routine going to be, given you're taking on this new job to both manage a full-time job and also still be able to be active in the market?
Well, luckily, restaurant hours are kind of the opposite of market. So, like I'll still get up, 8:30, check out the market, kind of do my trading. And then I go into work at 3:30, 4. So it's really not that bad. It's kind of an even balance. It doesn't really affect either one much, especially now that I'm trying to focus on swinging. It's actually great for swinging because it takes up some of my extra time that I would be just staring at the computer.
Now, so with that kind of focus on swinging, when exactly do you do kind of your market homework? Are you looking at things, at the end of the day and trying to put in orders the next day? Are you just kind of spotting them in the morning, before you're actually going to work? Or, when does your quote unquote market homework actually take place?
Usually morning, and when I get home from work, what I'll do is I'll jump on FinViz. I'll look for certain, trends and whatnot, and then I'll set alerts on my brokerage account. And when the alerts go off, I take a quick look at the chart, kind of try to feel it out, and then I usually will enter in at that zone unless there's something that just doesn't look pretty going on, which has bit me a few times because now that I'm under PDT flag, say I do get in at a desired entry, but something happens and it still goes against me. I'm not able to get out until the next day, which really sucks. But
yeah, it sort of is what it is. Now, you mentioned you pull up FinViz, which is a scanner, and you're looking for certain. I guess, do you have any go-to setups that you really like to trade, or are you kind of open to whatever? But I guess, what are you exactly you're looking for on these scans?
Usually, I look just for patterns, or strong uptrends or downtrends. I really just try to stick with common patterns. I feel like the more common it is, the more people see it, and it kind of like just happens. So I'm just looking for simple patterns that I'm very familiar with and I've seen a few times. And that's it. I keep it very simple, to be honest. Nothing too crazy.
So you're just looking for. I like that. Basically, said you're looking for scenarios where a self-fulfilling prophecy is likely to take place. Is that pretty much what you're getting at there?
Exactly. Just look for your basic bull flags, wedge, patterns, triangle patterns. I don't know if you see my alerts in the chat room, but they're usually just plain old alerts on certain patterns. Not too many like cup and handles and stuff that happen on a larger.
The cup and handle. I don't know. I don't think we've ever had a cup and handle alert, but yeah, that's I'm looking through the alerts right now after you brought that up, and yeah, I don't see any. Everything fits on one line. Things are being said in very short terms, but if you know what you're doing and if you understand, then yeah, I mean, all these terms give you plenty of information to go and make a choice. But yeah, you like the bull pull alerts and stuff like that, if I'm remembering right. So I definitely do see your alerts, and I appreciate the alerts because it's always good when we have multiple eyeballs and everybody's shooting their ideas out there and everybody's helping each other out. So in terms of what you're, you really kind of stole my thunder. I thought you were going to have an epic answer about the restaurant, and then your simple answer was, oh, well, I don't have to go in till 3:30. Oh, okay. Well, awesome. Yeah. How far are you into the options though right now? Because I know you started with this, and I want to kind of circle back and end with this because then when we go to when we have you back again, whenever that is, it'll be a good launching point to hear about how options are going. But where do you stand with all that? Are you still going through intro course, or are you on the advanced course? But take us through this present stage of your education.
No, I actually just started the just the simple options. The first couple videos. I tend to watch each video twice in a row. I have this weird thing. I always daydream in the middle of them, and I lose my concentration. So I always watch them twice. So it takes me a little bit longer to get through them. But yeah, no, I'm just starting off. Like I said, I just left the other restaurant last weekend, so I just started having some extra time in between. So yeah, it's brand new to it. Just started. But actually, can I ask you something, Clay?
Yes, you can.
So
maybe,
I've seen
maybe.
All right. So I've actually, I've seen a couple of your videos of you trading. I don't really remember any that you were trading options in. Do you trade options?
I do trade options. Let me put it this way. I am open to trading options. I have traded options. There are several live trade videos out there. But yes, the vast majority of live trade videos, and for those of you listeners on the YouTube channel, I'll put out a weekly video of myself live trading. And at this point, I don't know, there's like 350, I don't know. It's like over 300 videos though. So yes, the vast majority of those are going to be stocks. I am open to trading options. I do trade options, but do I do it on a regular basis? Am I always active? Like Ches, for example, do I have an options farm planted right now? I do not. But yeah, I mean, I have traded them. I am open to trading them. But right now, just...
And I want to bring up why that is too, and why, because remember, you have to. So while Clay understands the power of them and has showed them, and obviously it's been it's been awesome for everybody with kind of smaller accounts or even larger accounts. We have a lot of larger account option traders too. Clay has been trading stock and just flat out equities for a decade, so it's kind of hard to shift gears when you kind of like you said before, if it's not broke, there's nothing to fix. That I just butchered the hell out of that saying. But that doesn't matter. If you've been doing something for a decade and it works, there's no real reason to change it. And I guess, Clay, would you agree with that?
I don't say this to be like a look at me, but I don't really need to in the sense of my account allows me to the day trade to nickel and dime stocks all day long. So that's just what I'm going to do. But some people with big accounts, they still want to do options, and that's awesome. And like I said, I have several videos out there of me trading options, but for the most part, I'm just sticking with what I know best, and that's going to be stock. And I'm thinking right now, and that's why I'm stumbling. I really should probably get an options farm started, just because that is and options farming is just swing trading with advanced options. I should get something like that planted, just because it's by no means.
Yeah, just cut me a check and I'll do it for you. I'll only take 20% off the top every month, whether I make money or lose money.
Yeah, but right now, I'm working on a real. There's always stuff going on, so it's like, yeah, I should get that options farm planted, but I really don't have an excuse. But yeah, so thank you, because now you've brought up the whole options. Do I have any plans of getting like that back into day trading options right this moment? I do not. Should I have an options farm planted? Yeah, I probably should have. I'm being honest, and I do not. And I don't really have an excuse, although I'm trying to think of an excuse, which is why I'm stumbling over my words. But I'll just be honest, I have no excuse. I'm just slacking off in that regard. That was a good question and a fair question. Do you have any other questions that you want to? Because
I was just curious.
That was a good question. This has curious because.
Because like I've been mostly doing just equities and whatnot, and so now that I'm starting the option courses, I'm just learning the terminology, but it's completely new to me, and I just thought that I didn't see any videos really of you trading them, so I don't know. I was just thinking about it.
No, that's more than fair, and I don't even know the titles of them, but I know there's several of them on YouTube of the live trade. But I realize that's kind of also like a needle in a haystack, because the majority are of trading stocks. So, that's
so if I do a I think Ches was saying it. So you can do a cash account for options, and that eliminates the PDT, huh?
It eliminates PDT. The PDT only exists for margin accounts, so you can freely. So, for example, if you have a $1,000 account and you put on, like I said, this is just for example. I'm not saying you should do this. If you have a $1,000 account, you could place 2 $500 trades, and then assuming you close your positions as their day trades, say you make no money, you completely break even. Granted, that's never usually how it happens. Say you completely break even. The next day you log into your account, you'll have $1,000 to trade again. So. What I usually tell people to do is, if you have a $1,000 account, you could place 5 $200 trades in a day, and assuming you're flat at the end of the day, the next day you open up your account, you will have $1,000 again to trade with. So you can kind of break it down. That's how I always kind of personally did it. I break it down and leave myself open that say I get stopped out really quick on a trade, I still want to have capital left over, so that if it sets up again, I could still trade it, instead of blowing my wad on one trade. Say you have $1,000, you take a $1,000 position, you stop out really quickly for a small loss, and then it sets up on you again. If you went through your whole account, essentially account value, then you can't trade again until the next day. So, you can trade as many times as you want, assuming your account is not on margin.
And the other thing with all that is, like Jess said, cash or
settlement
pattern day trading rule. Yeah, exactly. Pattern day trading rule applies to margin accounts. So if you're a cash account, okay, well, you've eliminated the whole pattern day trading rule. But the thing about stocks is you still have to wait for your cash to settle, which right now is 3 days. Although I think they're bringing it down to 2, right? I think I saw some news or something like that. Yeah, or is that still up for debate?
I think it's still up for debate. But yeah, right now it's 3 days, and options are technically +1. And that's why it comes the next day. So when you're on a margin account, it's +0. You can rotate in and out of your money. But options are +1, stocks are +3. So that's where, people say, well, why can't I just do a cash account with stocks? And I think this is the point you're making, Clay.
Yes, exactly.
Well, you could do, say you take a $1,000 position, you close. Now you still got to wait 3 days, and you were better off with the PDT rule at that point. But that's the real benefit of options, is they settle overnight.
Yeah, there you go.
I didn't know that.
That's the exact point. Yeah. So that's the key thing. That's why it's got to be options. It can't be stocks, because it's T+3. You got to wait 3 days. So, that's a big benefit. Forex and futures also do not have PDT. However, futures is definitely, last week we just had somebody that's doing awesome swing trading futures. So we're not here to tell people not to trade futures. But if you're disciplined, if you know how to read a chart and all that, then Forex and futures is another way that you can get around the PDT rule, because it doesn't exist at all. And Ches, I know you can speak to that more because you are kind of the resident futures trader here. So I mean, I'm right with that. Exact right?
Definitely. So the only difference is though is it's not, the cool thing about options and Forex is that you can kind of be sized as large or as small as you want. And for options you can be at a far out of the money thing that costs you maybe $20 to get into. So really losing $10 or even the whole $20 is not a big deal. Futures, on the other hand, you can lose $20 in 2 ticks, which is literally the equivalent of 2 pennies if you're trading oil. So it's what I always say, and this is always just my warning because I want people to recognize it. They might say, "Oh wow, futures are great. I can totally trade it with a $5,000 account and day trade, and it's totally awesome." Here's the thing. Sure, you could trade it with a smaller account, but I promise you need to be able to weather the storm of losses. Keeping your losses at $100 or less is quite difficult. 10 cents on a $45 stock is a really tight stop loss. And I'm not saying, this, I'm not even going to touch on risk management and kind of how you should set up your trades and stuff like that, but you need to be prepared to take kind of larger losses. Sure, you can definitely make larger gains, absolutely. And our episode last week was totally awesome with him kind of swing trading those, and I was super impressed with it. But just be aware, there's no real way. I would probably trade futures again if there was like a half-size contract where it's $5 a tick instead of $10 a tick, because I'm not comfortable with the amount of risk I have to put on, and when you're not comfortable, you do silly things. So just a warning though. But Forex, you can actually trade as small as you want. It's definitely more of a unique market, but those are 2 kind of products, like you said, Clay, that completely don't have PDT. You just got to be careful how you do it because there's a lot of leverage involved, and leverage cuts both ways. Great for big gains, but if you're not disciplined, it's great for big losses.
Yeah, so that is just an FYI, but if you are somebody that's brand new to the markets and listening, or you're relatively new, we're not saying not to touch futures, but it's not all it's cracked up to be. When I see, on Instagram or these other social media places where, I'm making all this in futures and blah, it's like, okay, yeah, but somebody brand new right out of the gates, I don't know if that's necessarily the proper vehicle to be using.
It's a lot of risk. It's a lot of risk.
It works, but you tread carefully, and this is why knowledge, why we're always preaching knowledge. Sure, we would love for you to get your knowledge from claytrader.com, but even if you don't, just understand you better have knowledge. You better have a true system in place, or else those markets are going to eat your lunch in a hurry. So, Fordy, do you have anything? Looking at the time, we'll start to wrap things up, but it sounds like right now, job transition, learning about options, you have a system that works, but you just want to prove to yourself that it continues to work so that you can gain more comfort. And then at that point, you're going to start to put more money into your trading account. Is that pretty much a fair assessment of where things stand right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, I'm still saving money on the side to put towards it, but I just want to see the consistency continue and just, keep chipping away at it. Like I said, I've made the decision that I'm going to be doing this, and there's no rush. I don't got to trade like I'm going to retire tomorrow. So I'm just going to take my time and really just, solidify my skills.
Let me ask you this. Let's eliminate your current job right now, and now you're just trading. How do you think that would go? You have no day job now. You got to trade.
To be honest, I know you're saying, like, in the situation, I would, if I had a decent size amount of capital, then yeah, I should be all right.
No. Like, you don't have a decent, like right now, like in your exact current situation. I just wiped away your job. You have no job right now, and you're just going to be a day trader. How do you think that would go?
Rough.
Yeah. Why do you think rough?
I'd still be flagged underneath that PDT. I wouldn't be able to day trade as often as I would need to pay my bills.
And even with that, you'd have to pay your bills. And I bring that up just because I see it all the time. I have $5,000. I just got $10,000. I lost my job, and I'm going to start trading. And it's just, that's such a recipe for disaster. And what sparked that is the way Mike's talking about, hey, I'm in no rush. I've determined I want to do it, so I'm going to do it. But what do I need to rush for? I got time. And the reason he's got such a a kind of a calm, laid-back attitude is because he's got income coming in. That's why we never preach around here, unless you're a full-time day trader, you're not really a trader at all. No, the smartest way to go is to make sure you have those other streams of income coming in so you're not under the gun all the time, and you can have kind of the laid-back attitude, which you said in passing with the way you described that, and I thought, that's really a great example of the power of a job, even though some will say, oh, you have a job, you suck. You suck at trading if you still need a job. No, that's what affords just mental peace. So, I mean, it would be very rough in your words.
Yeah, and I've had like the idea of being like, hey, maybe I should do this. Maybe I should go get a loan or something to get past that PDT or get that, I forget the account. Was it Speed Trader or something? The one that's offshores?
Yeah, Sure Trader.
Yeah, and be like, oh, maybe I can get around it like that. But like I said, I don't need to retire tomorrow. I'm going to just take my time, build it up, not put myself in debt, and, just keep going at it.
Yeah, if you go get a loan to fund your account to get you above pattern day trade, I will be punching you in the face, okay?
Exactly. I would never, but...
yeah, don't do that. And for listeners out there, if you do that, or if you've done that, or if you're doing that right now, contact me and Mike, and we're going to both come and punch you in the face because, close that account down, pay off that loan ASAP. You are barking up a tree that you do not want to be barking up by doing stuff like that. So, but hey, Mike, thank you. Do you have any final things, Ches, before I got to work on this, Ches. I never really give you an opportunity to thank the guest and, give your goodbyes to them. And, it's kind of a jerk face move on my part. So do you have any final things for Mike?
Only slightly, but I forgive you for that. But no, Mike, I think, I love the point that you brought up about kind of his laid-back attitude that he's got time. He's decided he's going to do it. He's not in a rush. He's not trying to retire tomorrow. That lack of pressure, and I say this so often. I mean, I know I repeat myself a bunch on the podcast, but I really hope it drives it home to the listeners out there. When you don't have any pressure, if he lost his job and had to trade to keep the lights on and pay for his car and, pay for gas and food and all that stuff, that type of pressure is what leads people down these awful rabbit holes of, ooh, I can't take this loss because now it's too big, and ooh, I'm going to put all my account on this one trade, and ooh, I just blew up my account, and now I have to go, pick up welfare or go live back at home with mom and dad or something. That type of pressure is what always ruins people. So the more relaxed you are, I mean, Clay, like you said, we've had people who've been trading for over 20 years still have their day job. It's literally the guaranteed trade, and they make six figures. But the thing is that they always have that kind of guaranteed income, and they almost have the opportunity to kind of decide, I'm going to go trade full-time now that, I've developed this large account. I'm totally, trusting my consistency. Those people diving in that say I need to, lost my job, need to pay for this month's cell phone bill. You're going to do silly things. So he's totally setting himself up for success, taking his time, literally proving to himself that he's not going to make any boneheaded mistakes. And yeah, that's the real recipe for success. So I will take this time now to say thank you, Mike. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I'll send it back to you, Clay.
Yeah, and see, we're at the point, because Ches and I, we're always talking on Skype behind the scenes, and I was just letting him know, hey, just make sure you take this opportunity to say your goodbye. And as I'm typing it up, he is saying his goodbye. So we have that telepathic, I don't even know what that is.
After 134 plus hours of podcast, we kind of got a rhythm going for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So, but Mike, thank you for taking time out of your afternoon. And when do you start the new job, today or next week or what?
I'm actually going in a couple hours.
Okay, so that's like today where you're going in to learn the systems and how they do everything?
Yeah, just getting their style of business down.
So if Ches and I and IT Nate, if we come to Rhode Island and we come to this Italian place, can you give us like 10% off or something?
We'll take care of you.
I'm a jerk. The guy's just starting, and I'm already asking for discounts. What kind of savage am I? I actually, in hindsight, I apologize. That was a total, that was...
Fordy's going to put you right by the kitchen so the door swings open and smacks your chair every time they're coming in and out.
And
now.
You know what? I would deserve it, along with a punch in the face. So I will pay you an extra 10% because that was just such a jerk question on my part. But no, in all honesty, that's really cool that you're being trusted. It sounds like Silicon Valley out there. They just totally poached you from this restaurant. I didn't know the restaurant business was so cutthroat.
Oh, it definitely is. Well, the owner came into the restaurant I was at, and he actually called me into his office to give me this because he remembered me specifically from fish.
And wow. I mean, were you aware of this, Ches? Does it not sound like Silicon Valley where executives are getting poached here and there? And
it's the power of a good work ethic, though. He literally stood out enough to this guy that this guy's going to literally take steps to approach him and kind of offer him this. So no, I mean, that's why you should always kind of give 110%. I know it's definitely hard. There are absolutely days when, I don't feel like doing the hard work and, being really social and talking to people, but that's the thing. You want to provide a good experience, and that's how kind of opportunities start coming knocking on your door instead of you having to go bang on theirs.
Yeah, absolutely. So props to you, Mike. That's good motivation for everybody out there. From a kind of has nothing to do with trading, just life in general. Make yourself an asset, and assets get rewarded. And
absolutely.
So that's some good stuff. Any final words from you before we wrap this discussion up?
No, I'm just looking forward to the follow-up. Maybe next time we talk, I'll have my account up, and I'll be way past that PDT worry.
Hey, I'm planning on it. You stop reading those freaking earnings reports, and I think you're going to put yourself on a good little path there. So, Mike, thank you again for hanging out.
Anytime, fellas, anytime.
For you listeners out there, a final few things before we go. For those of you listening on YouTube, make sure to check out the channel itself. We talked about live trading, so you can check out those videos as a playlist. There's lots of other playlists too. Hopefully you decide to ultimately subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on iTunes or any of the other podcast players, subscribe. And on iTunes itself, if you could leave us a rating, that really does go a long way and helps us out quite a bit. And then finally, if you're listening on the show notes page at claytrader.com, click that share button. And if you want to leave us a comment down below the video, we do read those and we will reply. So thank you again to you as listeners. Thank you to our esteemed co-host Ches, to Mike for taking time out of his day, and we will see you all back next week.
This has been the Stock Trading Reality Podcast. Thanks for taking the time to hang out. To learn more about Clay and the Clay Trader community, including the trading team, premium training, and more, visit claytrader.com.